Hi, my name is Triya and I'm a doctor working in London. Earlier this year, I graduated from Oxford Medical School. Today, I'm going to talk about the 5 things I wish I knew before going to medical school in Oxford. So the first thing I want to talk about is that in Oxford Medical School, you will be writing a lot of essays. So in the first 3 years, essays are the main form of work that you do. So these are the things that you will discuss at tutorials. So your tutor will set you an essay about a week before a tutorial. In first year, I had about 2 or 3 essays a week. So I've got some essays here just to give you an example of the type of things that I had to write. So this is an essay that I wrote in second year. The title is Discuss the neural circuitry in the spinal cord that underpins voluntary and involuntary movement. This is marked by my tutor, this is why it's got all this red scribbling. In the exam, you'd have to handwrite the essay and hand draw the graphs. Most of our tutors allowed us to type up the essays during term time, although not all of them. So this is a revision plan for a second year essay. This is actually one that I enjoyed writing. Not that I didn't enjoy the other ones, but this was one I found the most interesting. The question is, several physiological adaptations occur as a consequence of exposure to high altitude environment. What are these adaptations and how are they all beneficial? So I really like applied physiology, so that's why this was one of the ones that I liked the best. So I think the good things about writing essays is that it really gives you a deep understanding of the science because you're thinking about a question and you're going away and doing a lot of reading about it. I think the physical act of writing many essays week after week, it really makes you a better writer. So this is really useful if you want to pursue an academic career in the future. And even if you don't, it's just useful to be able to articulate yourself well. The cons of writing essays is that it's very time consuming. You also may not feel like a science student because if you talk to other students, for example, who study chemistry or physics, they'll be doing problem sheets, whereas you'll be writing essays like humanities students, which is why in Oxford, when you study medicine, you get a Bachelor of Arts in the first 3 years as opposed to a BSc. So the second thing I wish I knew is how much you'll be in charge of your learning. Although you'll have a mixture of tutorials, lectures and classes, the tutors and the professors really expect you to do most of the work by yourself. They expect you to do a bulk of reading before you come to lectures or before you come to classes, and although most people don't do this before the lectures, they have to end up doing it at some point during the year. I think this is really important when you get to the last 3 years of the degree, so clinical school, because you have to balance your time between spending time on the wards and in clinical environments and also spending time doing your own study and learning the theory of medicine. I think it's quite a hard balance and one that definitely took me a while to get used to. The problem with medicine is that you won't have a lot of free time because there are a lot of contact hours that you'll have to go to, so you'll have to get quite good at making the most of the hours that you do have in the evenings or at the weekends. So the next thing is something that I didn't know before I joined uni and that I was quite surprised when I found out. So a lot of medical school exams are pass-fail and they have relatively high pass marks. So this could be about 65 to 70%. Now this may not sound like a very high percentage if you're at school, but in other subjects 70% in university means a first, but in medical school it often just means a pass. And although the reasoning behind this is understandable, because you're ultimately going to be doctors and they want doctors to have a base level of medical knowledge, it is just quite annoying in day-to-day life because the exams just seem that much harder. And as a result, you'll feel like you're working harder than your non-medic friends. Another thing that is important to bear in mind is that the exams don't stop when you graduate. You also have to do postgraduate medical exams in order to become a specialist. So really the exams and the revision cycle never stops. So the next thing I want to talk about is how you're in it for the long haul. And what I mean by that is that medicine is a really long degree. And although yes, you technically do know that, it's just in practice that does seem quite different. When you reach 3rd or 4th year, you'll find that your non-medic friends will all graduate and move on to their jobs, whereas you're still a student. Now some people find this quite disheartening because you're not moving at the pace of the rest of your friends, but I actually found it quite nice to still be a student because you can live that student life of relatively less responsibility for longer, and also you get a relatively longer holidays compared to people who are working, but obviously you're not getting paid. So medicine definitely is a marathon rather than a sprint because you have to work quite consistently over a long period of time. Although I can say that now I have graduated, it does feel worth it because I finally get to say that I'm a doctor, and you do get to brag a lot when the 6 years are up. So the last thing I want to talk about is something that I think is really important, and it's that you don't have to love your degree all the time to still do it. So I think this is something that often people are worried about. So if you're doing the course and you find something quite difficult or you don't find it very interesting, it makes you question whether you really should be a doctor and whether you really should be studying medicine. But I just want to say that this is something that people experience all the time, and most people who I've spoken to in my year have felt this way at some point. It's okay to feel demotivated at times, and there definitely have been times where I've questioned whether I even want to be a doctor, but I found that these thoughts do pass, and then there'll be aspects of the course that I really love or that really affirm my choice. For example, you'll come across a lecture that's actually really interesting, or you'll meet a patient who makes you feel really good. So you don't have to be in love with your course the whole time. I think when I was in school, I thought I had to absolutely love medicine the whole time and for the rest of my life, but this isn't necessarily true, because that's not how any course really works. There will be aspects that you love, but there will also be times when you question everything, and that's really okay. So that's everything. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll see you in the next one.